Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem HaRakah Damonas to the apostles and elders, great most son of all well. Shalom to the prophets doing the work of Syrian truth. Yeah. Got this on France 24, talking about, the precursor to the Charagma, man. And you're seeing it come to life in Europe especially. Because it's basically been pushed like how it was originally introduced. You've seen it just trickle towards where it's gonna get to that point where it's gonna be that Charagma, man. Says what Health Pass or Max Pass. Europe eyes tighter sea control measures, with the Omi variant spreading rapidly in Europe. The French government is looking to transform its health pass into a max pass, and it's these things where when they're introduced, they're just saying like, oh, and it's funny because like the public will just parrot whatever it's kind of said, whatever's kind of pushed out there, and just be like, they'll just be like, oh well, there's obviously this isn't the way this is gonna go. It's not gonna go there. They're only it's just it's just comply with it for now, and then everything's gonna be fine. It's all gonna be tickety boo. Yeah, but well, in reality, it's you're obviously seeing they've it's just been trucking along, man. It's not been stopped. It's not been slowed down. It's been progressing. So the new measures would limit access to certain public spaces only to those that show proof of the juice or recovery from the illness. This system has already been applied in several European countries, but it has sparked controversies. That's the thing. It's essentially just normalized, and this is the thing. As far as for the resistance, for any form of basically saying like, hey, this is kind of peak. It's kind of a bit much to have to force people to do certain things, because from the beginning they've been essentially gunning for the opposition, man, branding them. They started with just anti-maskers, but then now it's anti-max. So as such, they've already built up in people's minds, and then they'll just always have like trending on Twitter, just having saying like, oh, people are saying blah blah blah, but then it's like any kind of reasonable question of like, yo, how's this thing running? How's it really going down? Like, what we really dealing with? Now they just have like buzzwords to throw at you, and anything you say is just gonna turn to wah in their ear. They ain't gonna hear it. It's gonna turn to waffle in their ear. So they've already. It's like the general public has been, they've been programmed to to interact with the discussion in a certain way. So then that's why, as it progresses, it doesn't even become a matter of like any of the points coming up aren't even being heard. They're just like, yeah, you guys had a problem with wearing masks, like, and those definitely helped. So like, why would we believe you now? It's like, oh, at this point, it's like, oh, well, you're complaining, but it's all been working out well so far, even though it hasn't. And then they'll just blame us like, oh, it's you lot are just not, if you guys complied, everything would be fine. Which that's I don't know who, or well, yeah, as Morpheus said in the scene with the red woman, man, it says these people are so hopelessly dependent upon the system, they'll do everything in their power to keep it going. Fuck, you know, for real. It says the Sea Health Pass was introduced in France in early June to help French people return to a normal life while minimizing the risks of contamination. The pass is a prerequisite to access cafes, bars, restaurants, theatres, and even long distance travel. It can be obtained if people prove they've been yabbed or provide a negative test, but that could change. Yeah, man said long distance travel, so it's like even if you're going from like south to north of France, you're gonna need it. And yeah, but yeah, like they said, it's like for now you can provide a negative test, but it says we're under a new system proposed by the French government, presenting a negative C test done within a 24-hour period will no longer meet the health pass criteria. Only people showing proof of the juice or recovery from C would be able to have the pass. This reform, which the government hopes will be approved and implemented by mid-January, is already being tested in several European countries, including Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic. And as yeah, they mentioned Germany because I remember I think it was Hamburg did a video on that a while back where in Hamburg it was to get into, I think it was even grocery stores. I think Hamburg, them man said like even to go grocery stores, you would need to basically have your pass. And I believe you had to have, you know, your juice to get in. But let's see what they say. That doesn't even go into it. Okay. I'll read the first bit. It says on November 18th, so from Germany from 3G to 2G model. It's funny they use 3G, 2G. So they're using that same terminology that's used with you know, the mobile technology as well. Normalizing it because hey, that's what it's gonna go to. It's gonna be like, hey, look, instead of having to you know, keep all these papers. It's like I spoke to one girl that she went overseas. She said like, yeah, she had to basically take up a shitload, like depending on the country you're going to, if you're passing through different countries, there's different papers you need, different companies you need to go to get your tests, different types of tests and whatnot. You need to have all these details available and basically, you know, and organize all these things ahead of time before you can even go somewhere. So they've actually made it so it's like all these systems are a hassle to engage with. So then what happens? They're just gonna say, okay, look, we're gonna just give you this. You get you put this, you know, you put this Charagma inside you, and then hey, it will have everything on there. And that's what they had all the news articles around doing, saying, oh, look at that, the ease of use of just thingy. Anytime I need to go anywhere, I don't need to forget anything. I have my proof, it's all there. That you know, anytime I need to do anything. They're just saying like the what's the term? Not consistency. Ease of use or ease of use. Convenience. That's the term. Convenience. Yeah, and it says, but this rule was not applied uniformly across the country. Each region had to use it as soon as the hospitalization threshold exceeded 3 patients per 100,000. Yeah. And then Austria as well, did a video on that. It says Austria has applied strict sanitary measures since a surge forced the country into lockdown measures in late November. And the first lockdown I believe they did was just for those who hadn't, you know, received it. And then afterwards they expanded it like in December, I believe. Yeah, they expanded it and then opened up, like, I think, what, 2 weeks later, something like that. So this is what Austria has applied, blah, blah, blah. So since December 12th, when the lifting of the lockdown started, the 2G rule has been applied nationwide. Only people who are yabbed or have recovered within the last 6 months can visit restaurants, hotels, shops, and access community centres and sports halls. The FFP2 masks, which offer superior protection, are also mandatory in such places. So yeah, it's that's the next stage, and then there's further to go because there's Charagma stage where that's where it'll be that's all you're gonna have to be able to be able to deal with. And you can see it's that's why it's always on a sliding scale, man. It's always in a gradual state where it's moving from one to another, where they're not just like, okay, yeah, da da da. That's why they're always pushing through further legislation. It says, as in Germany, people without a valid 2G certificate can still go to work, provided they present a negative test. For the rest, they're obliged to stay at home, except in exceptional cases, essential purchases, family obligations, health emergencies, etc. Several European countries, including Estonia, Latvia, the Czech Republic, Ireland, and Malta, have opted for a national V pass. It should be noted that this is required from the age of 12 in some countries, 15, or sometimes only after the age of 18. Didn't even know Ireland had it like that. A national one? Really? I didn't even know. Yeah, so since the introduction of the 2G system in Germany, protests against the new system have erupted across the country, with demonstrators claiming the new rules curtail individual freedom. Some protests, such as the December 18th demonstrations in Hamburg and Dusseldorf, gathered several thousand people. Yeah, and they always will play down the numbers. But it's like, hey, people are, complaining, expressing their discontent. But this thing's just going to keep on trucking, man. So while opposition to the health measures is a reality in Germany, France 24 correspondent Emmanuel Chazé notes that it does not reflect the country's majority opinion. Of course, this measure is a source of frustration after 2 years of pandemic, but when Germans are questioned, a vast majority support the government's measures. A third of Germans would even like to see these measures go further, she explained. So yeah, most people are complying because it's just about life. They are basically here high off the the smoke of so called life, man. In Austria too, the tough measures implemented by the government has sparked public anger, with tens of thousands staging demonstrations in Vienna in mid-December. Although this opposition is a minority, it has now been unified into a political party. The Human Freedom Fundamental Rights. In reaction to the health measures. That's kind of funny still. The man started a party. But hey, that's like they said, it's a minority. Majority of people out here are just, they're down, man. And that's why, same thing, when the Charagma comes, they're just gonna be down. They're just gonna be, okay, yeah, just give it to me and just get over and done with, just so I can then go back to enjoying life. Because that's the thing that's really aching in the back of their mind. Like they're thinking like, yo, can we go back? Can we do it? Can we be 2019 again? Second Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Yeah, sedition, man. That's all these protests, complaints, all this resistance people are giving. But that's the thing. It's that resistance. It continue. But what this is what a man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able. You're gonna have those lockdowns make a comeback. They're gonna be hella in fashion. This is what for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, it's basically gonna come to a complete chaotic state where you've got all sorts of madness going down out in the world. People doing whatever the fuck they want to do, fulfilling and satisfying their desires. But what men shall be afraid. Man shall okay. Houses shall be destroyed, men shall be afraid. Yeah, cities are gonna be troubled, man. Because now as well, and this is the thing, is with the nature of how cities run, it's a bunch of different people heaped on top of each other, stuck into one place. When any form of shortage or danger comes in, all of those so-called ties that everyone's meant to have to one another are gonna go out the window. It's gonna be like when you watch, like Walking Dead, them old seasons back in the day. You would have the people that you fuck with. Then it's like you run into some strangers. You got to be wary because we're like, yo, these guys are gonna try and take my shit. What are these guys really about? They might say, oh, if can you help us? It's like, oh, can you really afford to give these motherfuckers some food? It's gonna be what? People are basically gonna be on their ones, man. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Yeah, that's it. It's gonna come to the point where everyone's hungry, everyone's struggling, everyone's fucking going through hardships, everyone's experiencing all kinds of madness. Even the people that take the Charagma, those that are taking the Charagma, even them, they're not gonna have peace from that because regardless, they're still counted on that sheep level because they're basically the ones that are just getting given that that charagma, and then as well they're all the so-called life they're meant to be living, that's not going to be around. What they engage with that for is not what they're going to receive. It's going to be a real big surprise for them, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yabashim Shabashim Makakadash Fakla. Shalom.